Look, we need to talk about what's happening with the Blue Jays right now because this isn't just another off-season story. This is about watching a piece of the team walk away while the front office scrambles to figure out what comes next. And honestly, it hits different when you realize how quickly things change in this game. Eric Swanson just announced his retirement. For those who followed his journey through Seattle and Toronto, you know he wasn't a household name, but he was exactly the kind of player every bullpen needs. 7 MLB seasons, 246 appearances, an 11-6 record. Numbers that tell one story, but the real story lives in the clubhouse moments nobody sees. When Toronto designated him per assignment last season, you could sense the writing on the wall, but retirement, that came faster than anyone expected. His goodbye message mentioned every city that became home: Seattle, Toronto, Winnipeg, Hickory. Places most fans will never think about, but for him, they represented chapters of a career built since the 2014 draft. He thanked everyone, and you could feel the weight of someone who understood what it meant to live this game at the highest level, even when the spotlight never really found him. Here is what gets me about Swanson's retirement. It's not just about losing a reliever. It's about what it represents for where this franchise is. Right now, Toronto's bullpen has been through nights where they looked unstoppable and stretches where you couldn't trust anyone coming out of that pen. Swanson was one of those quiet, professional arms who handled his role without drama, without excuses. He came over in that Teoscar Hernandez trade with expectations, wore the uniform with respect, and even when things got rocky, he showed up. Those are the guys you don't fully appreciate until they're gone. The reaction from people who knew him was pure respect, and that tells you something. In a game where egos run wild and pressure breaks people, he kept his head down and did the work. For the fan base, this hits as a reminder of how unpredictable baseball can be. One day you are contributing, the next you are trying to find your place, and suddenly the career is over. It's abrupt, it's real, and it connects to something bigger about this team right now. Because while we're saying goodbye to Swanson, the Blue Jays are staring down a rotation crisis that could define their entire 2026 season. Chris Bassitt and Max Scherzer are hitting free agency. Let that sink in. Toronto is about to lose nearly half their starting rotation, and they're entering a winter where every decision matters. The core still has Kevin Gausman, Shane Bieber, and rookie Trey Yuvich, but those two open spots create exactly the kind of uncertainty that makes fans nervous. You can't build a competitive season on 3 starters, especially when one of them is still proving himself and another is coming off injury concerns. This is the reality Toronto faces, and the pressure is squarely on the front office to get this right. That's where Mitch Keller comes in. Reports are linking him to Toronto, and honestly, it makes a lot of sense. Pittsburgh's right-hander has 3 years of team control. He's 29 years old, and he threw 176 innings last season with a 4.19 RA. Those aren't ace numbers, but they're exactly what Toronto needs. Someone who can eat innings, stabilize the middle of the rotation, and take pressure off Bieber and Yuvich. Keller isn't going to be your opening day starter, but he's reliable. He's under control, and his contract is manageable. For a team that's already dealing with difficult financial situations, like the remaining $67 million owed to Yusei Kikuchi, who's frustrated about his bullpen role, Keller represents a strategic move that doesn't mortgage the future. But here is the real question. Is Toronto willing to make this trade happen because adding Keller solves the immediate rotation problem, but it also signals something about how the organization views this window? Are they going all in on 2026, trying to surround a potentially elite lineup with enough pitching to stay competitive? Or are they hedging their bets, unwilling to commit big pieces for a starter who's good but not great? The fan base has seen Toronto make aggressive moves before, and we've also seen them hesitate at critical moments. This feels like one of those crossroads where the decision will tell us everything about what management really believes. And you can't ignore the Kikuchi situation in all of this. He's still owed significant money. He's unhappy about being moved to the bullpen, and any trade attempt depends on whether another team believes he can return to starting form. That's not just a financial problem, it's a trust problem. It's the kind of internal tension that exposes how complicated roster management gets when expectations don't match reality. If Toronto can move Kikuchi and use that financial flexibility to land Keller, suddenly the rotation looks completely different. But if they can't, they're stuck trying to rebuild while carrying dead weight on the payroll. What makes this moment so critical is the timing. The Blue Jays have a lineup that could compete right now. If they add someone like Kyle Tucker, the offense becomes one of the most dangerous in the American League. But all that firepower means nothing if the rotation can't hold up. You can't waste elite hitting on a pitching staff that can't get through 5 innings without bleeding runs. That's why the Keller discussion matters so much. It's not just about adding a starter, it's about whether Toronto can build a complete team that doesn't collapse under pressure when the games matter most. This entire situation captures what it feels like to be a Blue Jays fan right now. We're watching someone like Swanson retire, a reminder of how fast careers end and how quickly rosters turn over. At the same time, we're facing a winter full of questions about the rotation, questions about who stays and who goes, questions about whether management has a real plan or if they're just reacting to circumstances. It's that constant tension between hope and anxiety, between believing this team can contend and wondering if they'll ever put all the pieces together at the same time. The thing is, Toronto always finds a way to make the offseason interesting. Whether it's a blockbuster trade nobody saw coming or a quiet signing that changes everything, this front office knows how to create drama. But drama doesn't win games, execution does. And right now, with Swanson walking away and the rotation in flux, execution feels like the one thing Toronto desperately needs to figure out before spring training starts. Drop your thoughts below because this fan base deserves to be heard. And if you are still riding with the Blue Jays through all of this, hit that like button, and let's see where this off season takes us.